Hi guys, I'm extremely critical of the media when it comes to the discussion of many topics, and I believe it's their job to inform the public in as unbiased way as possible. Now I say possible as all humans, journalists included, have their biases, but it's important that they try to not allow them to influence their job. Talk TV, it seems, is just right-wing hackery, reactionary garbage and not journalism. Here's Steve Valdez-Symonds, the director for Amnesty's UK Refugee and Migrant Rights Programme, was interviewed by two hacks who are clearly not interested in understanding reality. And they opened with a bizarre line of questioning. Have a listen.
How do you determine if someone is LGBT?
Well, you will interview them probably more than once, probably with quite a degree of intrusiveness in the questioning. And you will make an assessment of what they say, what they tell of their history, what they explain of their past, check what you can from any records that can be obtained.
Now, it's important to remember that these people are not actually interested in understanding reality. And I go as far as to say that they're trying to sell the narrative that, you know, the majority of people claiming asylum in the UK are probably fake. This is what their starting point is. This is the reason for this type of questioning. When in reality, about 80% of asylum claims are successful. They move on to refugee status in the United Kingdom. So what they're trying to sell to the public here with this type of questioning is that is a very, very small percentage of people who are actually real asylum seekers. The rest are just economic migrants or people trying to game the system or trying to get a free house or something like that. This is what they're trying to sell. It's the opposite of reality. But unfortunately, they can be quite successful in convincing people to believe the opposite of reality.
And assess whether their claim is well-founded. That's what happens whatever somebody claims.
So the government have relationship, sexual, I mean, they have experts doing this kind of thing. I think these are a couple of really, really astonishing revelations about how you can come here from Albania. I mean, the public are really angry about this. We have a cost of living crisis here ourselves.
Now, this is the other line that they usually use. Well, there's a cost of living crisis. Why are we spending so much money on these refugees and these asylum seekers? Why are we putting them up in hotels that cost £150 a night? Now, first of all, these two people, I believe, are Brexiteers, so they don't have a problem with Brexit, which is costing hundreds of billions of pounds, a drop in 4% of GDP. They don't have a problem with that, but they have a problem with a few £1 million being spent on refugees. Now, why are these people being put up in hotels? Well, because the government don't want to hire the staff to process them. That's the problem here. There's a backlog because you have successive Tory governments who don't want to invest in staff and facilities because it's not a vote winner. If they're seen investing in these things, it will piss off the racists and bigots who normally vote for them. So they don't invest in that, and this is creating a backlog. Now, the UK is a civilized society, so it has a responsibility, like other civilized societies, to allow people to claim asylum there. I know these two hacks don't believe in that, or maybe they're just pretending not to because they know their listeners believe that, but that's not what a civilized society does.
We are shouldering a very, very, troubled country. We are inheriting a situation which Albania needs to be addressing.
Isn't that the point, though, Steve, that this is Albania's problem, not ours?
Wow. And when I said about Brexiteers, it's this idea we need to turn ourselves into the North Korea of Europe, close our borders, don't allow anyone in. This is their mentality. Once again, I don't know if these two hacks actually believe it or they're just, pretending in order to continue this narrative. But the UK is a civilized society. It's open to allow people to claim asylum there. And I think the vast majority of people in the UK believe that as well. It's a civilized society, not the North Korea of Europe.
Well, I'll say two things, if I may. Firstly, in terms of the suggestion this is Albania's problem, I mean, the starting point in relation to any refugee is that, yes, it is the responsibility of the country that people flee from to protect them and treat them humanely. But the Refugee Convention obliges all other nations where countries refuse to treat their people with the basic human respect of respecting their lives and rights, human rights that is, then they are entitled to asylum. As for the question of lesbian and gay people seeking asylum, whether from Albania or anywhere else, I'm really not sure what the point is to try and be made. Are we saying that, oh, we're not going to provide protection to lesbian and gay people who are persecuted around the world simply because we're concerned that people may say they are lesbian and gay but not be? I think that's a very dangerous and terrible attitude, to be honest.
I mean, my feeling on this is the EU loves poking its nose into matters that doesn't normally concern it. I don't.
And then, of course, the Brexiteers have to shoehorn the EU into this.
I don't understand if Albania is waiting for EU accession, why the EU hasn't stamped down on this and told Albania to get its situation in order.
I've said before, Brexiteers don't know the difference between the EU and member states, and they don't seem to understand what the EU is all about. If you want to become a member of the EU, there are certain hoops that you need to jump through. They can be economic ones, they can be social ones, they can be political ones. If Albania wants to join the European Union, it needs to respect human rights, it needs to deal with corruption, it needs to deal with a whole range of issues that it has on its plate. It isn't a matter of ticking a box and you become a member of the EU. I understand that Brexiteers don't understand this, but it's not as easy as you might think. And this is also another issue that I've talked about. You know, the UK rejoining the EU is going to be difficult and it's going to take a long time. But the UK at the minute, I know these people would like to make it worse, but at the minute the UK is in a better position to join the EU than Albania is. But it's not just a matter of, yeah, you can join because you want to.
Well, I think one thing that would be dramatically better if the EU is to approve Albania's membership is it will make a dramatic difference to the capacity of that government, because of the economics that will change, to be able to provide the sort of protection that for many, many years it has not been able to provide its people.
Well said. If Albania becomes a member of the European Union, it'll have access to funding that it doesn't have now, and the economic situation in Albania will improve, and there'll be less need for people to leave the country for a better life.
Steve, I think, look, I hugely respect the work that Amnesty does around the world and, you know, for political prisoners and all of that. But I think when you are talking about a country like Albania and you are telling us that blood feuds and trafficking is perhaps a different point, but being a lesbian or being gay could actually, you know, gives you permission to come to this country and claim asylum, I think people are going to be, well, I think they're going to be quite shocked by that.
Why would they be shocked by that? Are you assuming that there are gay and lesbian people in Albania who are not being persecuted? Have you been there? Do you know what the makeup of society is there? Obviously not. She doesn't have a clue, but she's saying, well, I imagine it's nice. So, you know, I don't believe, I've no evidence to back it up, but I don't believe that they're being persecuted there. So I'm just going to continue with this narrative that everything is fine and there's no reason for these people to come here. Look, they're starting off with the narrative that there aren't real asylum seekers, and if you're coming from Albania, well, then you're not a real asylum seeker. This is their thinking. And if you are arriving, well, you're probably part of some sort of gang and you just want a free house or a free car, or you just want to rob people. This is what they're trying to sell people. And unfortunately, it tends to work. Because if you're watching the likes of Talk TV every day, or if you're reading only the Daily Mail or the Express or the Sun, if that's the only information you're receiving, or your racist uncle on Facebook is providing you links every day to this sort of crap, then of course you're going to believe it. And you're going to believe that all refugees, all asylum seekers are just out for what they can get. and they're not interested in rebuilding their lives or seeking refuge. And this is what's going to result in people attacking asylum centres. This is going to result in people taking even more dramatic action and dangerous action. This needs to be called out. I don't like doing videos like this, but I think it's necessary because these people are selling an idea that is extremely dangerous. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.